Tristan Leonis, one of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse, probably has one of the biggest potential power-ups in the story right now, and is probably either one of the most powerful characters in the main cast, or is on track to be it. The potential of Tristan's abilities is honestly staggering and pretty damn scary when you really think about it, as he has basically the strongest demon in the world and the strongest goddess in the world as of this moment as his parents. And as we've seen in the current 4 Knights of the Apocalypse manga, he is able to do relatively well against characters that in the past were honestly pretty big obstacles for the main characters of the 7 Deadly Sins. This video has been recorded right after the events of chapter 68. So if anything occurs that either confirms or denies anything or adds on to this video about Tristan, please let me know in the comments down below, as this is recorded right after that chapter with everything going on with Tristan's abilities. This video is made in place of a chapter review, as this was recorded in advance due to the fact that at the point of this video coming up, I should be on a 1-month vacation, so I wanted to leave you guys with something fun to talk about and watch while I'm away, as this is something that I've been thinking about for a while now, and I really committed to it with this video once chapter 68 dropped. Now before we get into my full-on thoughts and opinions, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell for updates on future videos so you can get more 4 Knights of the Apocalypse content and more anime and manga content. It shows the algorithm that you guys enjoy my videos and will recommend it to more people, thus allowing the fanbase to grow even more. Also, don't forget to check me out on Twitter and Instagram at @TheGreekWeeb for updates on future videos as well, if for some reason the bell icon does not work for you, or if you don't get notifications, as well as seeing what else I'm posting, talking about series that I am planning on reading, either to add to the channel, or just in general when I don't use them for my channel videos, or just to me interact with other creators and other people. Now with that out of the way, let's hit that intro and start the video. So, before we get into the potential of Tristan's abilities, we need to go over what Tristan is. In chapter 68, it is fully revealed that Tristan's official race is called a Nephilim, an impure child, a child born from a goddess and a demon. 2 opposing sides that seemingly have never really gotten along throughout the centuries, as they've been in constant war because of the supreme deity and previous demon king. Meliodas and Elizabeth ended up falling in love, and they gave birth to Tristan, the very first Nephilim seemingly in existence that was born naturally. For all we know, there are other Nephilim out there, like the one that we also saw in chapter 68, which was created using chaos magic and just mashing a bunch of demon and goddess souls together into a horrific beast that Melascula was able to control and summon. But Tristan seemingly is the more natural-born creature from this race, and the first of its kind. Tristan has access to both goddess and demon magic, the abilities of both his parents and their sequential races, as well as access to seemingly their entire moveset. Right now, Tristan is 16 years old and has a lot of battle experience. From a young age, he has seemingly been trained by Meliodas to learn how to fight, as well as other holy knights, which we could presume Gil Thunder and Hauser helped in his training as a holy knight, as we will soon see in the Grudge of Edinburgh movie, which follows the 7 Deadly Sins and is a prequel to the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse, that Tristan at age 14 has been able to learn how to fight and battle as a holy knight. Now in terms of his true magical abilities, he tends to utilize more his goddess powers that he inherited from his mother. However, it is stated that he does not hold a candle to Elizabeth's healing abilities, and perhaps even her own attack power. This could potentially mean that the goddess side of Tristan, while he uses it the most, is not the strongest within him, but instead it could be his demon powers. As stated at the end of chapter 68, when he used his demon powers to swiftly take down Melascula in her true form, it is stated that Tristan is more like Meliodas than we initially thought, in terms of his raw, monstrous power. And Tristan states that he honestly did not want to hear something like that, which is why he doesn't rely on his demon powers. Now, why Tristan doesn't use his demon powers is still up in the air, but we can assume it has 2 things to add to his overall character development and arc. One is to be that he doesn't want to be compared to his father Meliodas, a powerful demon and the king of Leonis. Perhaps he does not feel like he can compare to his father, or just does not want to be seen as just the son of Meliodas. It wants to be comparable to the likes of his mother, as he is more of a pacifist and chooses not to battle or kill, if at all necessary. But when he uses his demon powers, he tends to be more aggressive, as we saw when he battled Melascula. The falling back of the goddess power shows that he has more control and accuracy over his abilities, but since he cannot cure diseases or curses, it shows that he still has a long way to go. But due to the fact that he is 16 years old and has seemingly been able to use these powers since he was very young, potentially his training could have been done alongside Elizabeth and perhaps maybe Mael. Now, the reason I bring up Mael is the fact that Tristan has twin blades, a black and a white blade. One blade is called Mael, which I assume is the white blade to represent his goddess half, and the other is called Estarossa, which is seemingly to symbolize his demon half. Not to mention, Estarossa / Mael is the only character in the series that has ever been able to utilize and house both goddess and demon magic, seemingly a unnatural and forcefully created Nephilim, as we saw back in the 7 Deadly Sins manga, where Mael, one of the goddess clan's strongest warriors, seemingly becoming a demon after being given the power of darkness and a commandment from the Demon King due to some whole complex memory manipulation thing by the original Gother. And by the end of that series, Mael had both goddess and demon magic within him, making him insanely powerful. And from the battle against Mael alone, you can tell how powerful someone using both types of magic is, especially due to the fact that they do have a resistance to the opposing forces of magic. So it would make sense for Mael to be perhaps Tristan's core tutor in terms of utilizing both his goddess powers, which I believe Elizabeth will use and teach with him, as well as how to try and control his demon powers, as Mael is the only one who has essentially had goddess powers for all his life, but then all of a sudden gained the powers of darkness and he has memories manipulated. But it's highly possible that he still remembers the feeling of having those demon powers within him, the power of darkness. And so seeing that Tristan is a natural born being that has these two powers coinciding, he probably wants to help oversee the training of using these powers that Meliodas and Elizabeth most likely are doing with him, so that they could coexist. Which is what Tristan's scary potential is. The ability to use both demon and goddess powers simultaneously. Mael was a seemingly mindless beast that was using the powers of commandments, which are demon abilities, along with goddess powers, and just honestly just causing complete and total chaos. So Tristan could potentially be even stronger than Estarossa was, as Mael was consumed by the commandments and was essentially a pseudo-Nephilim. And it doesn't even stop there. If we think about Meliodas' growth as a character in terms of strength, by the end of the Demon King arc, Meliodas had fully awakened to his powers as a true Demon King. The Demon King and Supreme Deity are basically, well, literal gods in the world of the 7 Deadly Sins created by Chaos. And we know that Chaos itself essentially got sealed by the Supreme Deity and Demon King working together. Meaning that Tristan could potentially unlock similar powers to Meliodas could unlock similar powers to Meliodas when he unlocked them in Purgatory, accepting his demon powers and heritage as the next Demon King. As Meliodas was only able to break the curse on him and Elizabeth with power comparable to that of the Demon King or Supreme Deity themselves. And Meliodas, with Zeldris' help of course, since he did lose his Demon King powers by completely destroying the commandments and the Demon King himself seemingly, he did still manage to defeat the Supreme Deity with Zeldris' help in the end of the day. But Meliodas gained the power of a comparable deity in the world of 7 Deadly Sins and lost it in order to defeat his father completely. Tristan has the powers of a goddess and a demon. I think that if Tristan can fully accept both of these sides of himself and fully control them, he could potentially unlock power similar to or even beyond his father or even his grandparents, the Demon King and Supreme Deity. A being that is essentially a deity of both light and darkness. Something like Chaos. Now don't worry, I'm not saying that Tristan's going to become another being like Chaos. I'm saying Tristan represents chaos the most at this point, because remember, human beings were created to symbolize light and darkness, and Tristan is a Nephilim, a being of demon and goddess descent. But Elizabeth was reincarnated into the body of a human, and humans, like I just stated, are essentially supposed to be creatures that are supposed to perfectly embody chaos. Meaning that Tristan is not just half human and half goddess, but he's also part human. And perhaps that human part of his creation is essentially the main key to perfectly balancing these two abilities, and essentially becoming a mini chaos-like being. Or perhaps, if he could awaken to this godlike power similar to Meliodas, if this level of power is to be expected, then perhaps Tristan, along with the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, if that is true, could actually seal away chaos once more. Because remember, the prophecy is slightly different for both Leonis and Camelot. For Leonis, the prophecy of the Four Knights is to defeat King Arthur and to bring hope back to Britannia. In Camelot, it's to defeat and destroy King Arthur and Camelot itself, or to destroy the world. So perhaps the defeat of King Arthur is not to kill him, but perhaps to seal away the power of chaos that he now holds over, so he isn't a threat to Britannia and the world as a whole with his, well, chaotic powers. And it would make sense for a being that would have the powers of the two original deities of the Seven Deadly Sins world that were created by chaos to have that kind of sealing power. I know I'm stretching a bit, but you have to understand that Tristan himself, his potential is honestly the greatest outside of, let's say, Percival with his hope magic. And we all know how broken Percival's hope magic can be if he has enough power behind that. Hell, I even made a whole video on why Percival being a character of hope and why his power is hope makes complete sense for the story and where that can lead. Link in the title card up above. I really wanted to bring that video back in there because I'm really proud of it. The whole thing with Tristan is the fact that he seemingly needs to accept his two halves. He doesn't even like using his demon powers, and the fact that he is a pacifist and chooses to go the path of least violence and tries to get his opponents to give up shows that he's more in terms of Elizabeth's way of thinking of not wanting to fight all of the opponents and rather to go and talk and go for a more peaceful route. But when he uses his demon half, when the demon mark appears on his forehead and he chooses to use it, he throws that all out the window and becomes more violent. And a good visual representation of the more violent nature of Tristan when he uses his demon form is in this one panel after completely destroying Melascula. When he lands down on the ground, we see his face look similar to that of the Demon King when he possessed Zeldris. And that was when the Demon King was at his most powerful and at his most destructive. So this could be a type of foreshadowing on Tristan potentially at some point completely giving in to his demon urges of destruction and losing control, becoming the monster afraid to become, or even becoming the annihilation mode version of Meliodas back before he fell in love with Elizabeth. A cold-blooded monster that would fight his enemies to the death without any hesitation for life. After all, Tristan knows the full story of Meliodas and Elizabeth, the Holy War, the whole thing. So it's very possible that while he admires his father, he does kind of fear of becoming what his father used to be. Thus, that is holding him back from truly controlling his demon powers, and why he doesn't want to use them. And why he doesn't want to use those abilities, due to the fact that he can feel himself becoming more violent and more destructive. He chooses to help and protect and heal, rather than to attack and destroy. And while yes, the goddess and demon clans aren't all black and white. I mean, we saw Ludocio was kind of like basically a religious zealot who wanted to kill all the demons, but we've seen that there are demons that choose not to fight, that are non-combatants and are just innocent bystanders. When we saw in the Holy War 3,000 years ago flashback arc with how Ludocio just used a bunch of civilian demons as bait for the Ten Commandments, or in the Four Knights of the Apocalypse when we saw in the Peaks of Fear arc a village full of pacifist demons that escaped the Holy War and just wanted to live out the rest of their lives and potentially live in peace with humans and the other races, despite the fact that their clan caused a lot of problems. So Tristan's arc is going to be to fully come to terms with his demon side and appreciate it just as much as his goddess side, to the point where he could use both at once. We did see a bit of a tease of Tristan using his goddess and demon powers when the Four Knights assembled to take on Pelgard initially in chapter 61. However, this could have potentially been foreshadowing to Tristan not being able to use both precisely at the same time at full strength. Remember, Tristan was relatively angry, and he was in a really, more negative state of mind after seeing what Xion has been up to. One of his closest allies was lying to him and was about to kill one of the prophesied Knights of the Apocalypse. So it's obvious that with that, plus the stress of an invasion, adding the stress on, it's possible that while Tristan wanted to use his goddess powers to help, that anger and resentment and doubt, those negative emotions, were causing his demon powers to flood to the surface. But eventually those subsided and he calmed down, thus he began to use his goddess powers, which he relied upon and preferred over his demon powers, as he does not want to be a destructive monster like his father was in the ancient past, or like most demons due to the stories that would happen in the Holy War, or perhaps his grandfather, the Demon King himself. His character arc is probably going to go in a similar way to Todoroki from My Hero Academia in terms of accepting both of his abilities as his own and trying to find the right balance. And him and Tristan basically being born of a goddess and a demon, which the goddess was kind of reborn as a human, can kind of help balance everything out, and it just ends up being more of a mental state, a type of mental state character arc where he has to fully accept both sides of his heritage and learn how to fully control them and use them at once, because we saw that he can't really use both at full power at the exact same time. He either used his goddess powers or recently when he used his demon powers. I know I'm rambling a bit, but I do want you guys to understand that Tristan does have the biggest combat potential out of anybody. And like I mentioned, if he can use both of these powers at the exact same time, he'll be an absolute powerhouse, as the demon and goddess clans are the strongest clans in the world of the 7 deadly sins, and to utilize both of them is just completely insane. And if he can unlock and go beyond to a power like the Demon King and Supreme Deity, or Demon King Meliodas by the end of the 7 deadly sins, but perhaps even stronger since he is a Knight of the Apocalypse and the descendant of 2 powerful heroes, then the sky's the limit. But anyway, I talked your ear off about Tristan's potential for far too long. I did not intend for this to be nearly 20 minutes long, but I did want to kind of cover all my bases and give all my thoughts and opinions on Tristan's powers and abilities. Though the thought of Mael being a pseudo-teacher of Tristan to try and come to terms with both has himself, as he did essentially have the powers of a demon and a goddess at the same time at one point, and he knows those negative emotions and feelings can consume him, it makes sense for Mael to essentially be a tutor or a trainer for Tristan to use both at the same time. When Mael can't use demon powers anymore, he could use his experience to try and help temper Tristan and guide him in the right direction. As with Meliodas and Elizabeth, they can only really teach him one or the other way, and those two conflicting teachings could cause Tristan to prefer one over the other, which it seems, like I mentioned, he prefers the goddess power. But what do you guys think? Do you think Tristan has the most combat potential and just overall near godlike ability potential out of all of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse? We know Percival has insane growth potential due to his powering up of hope magic, but Tristan does seem like the next big candidate to be a powerhouse of the story, especially since originally he would have been the protagonist of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse if we all think about it. But we then got Percival, which I think was a nice and much better decision because it was less predictable. But leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments down below on where do you think Tristan's character arc is going to be, what do you guys think of his potential, and overall, where do you think the story is going to go with him from here on out? Again, this video was recorded right after Chapter 68's release, so I have no idea what's going on next, as I am on break while this video is being recorded and edited and will be released. So if any new information comes up, leave it in the comments below. Mark it as spoilers in case anybody is going into this video up to this point and has not gotten past events of Chapter 68, as I don't want to spoil any newer fans that come onto the series and end up finding this video. And who knows, maybe I can make a follow-up video or a remake of this with the newer information that we'll know, or I can just leave it as is. But anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell once more. It really shows that you guys like my videos, and it shows the YouTube algorithm that you guys enjoy them as well, and it'll help recommend it to more people and helping the fandom grow even larger. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @TheGreekWeeb if you want to see what else is up with me, or to see when I upload once more if notifications somehow don't work for you. And if you want to support the channel more directly and see more larger videos similar to this one, head over to my Patreon and my Ko-fi accounts, where you can support the channel more directly and help aid in larger videos of this format and make them more consistent on the channel. But with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Look forward to more Fortnite's content, and I hope you all have an awesome day.